All right, diving right in today. Welcome to another deep dive. And today, we're going to be going through the Quran,
Yeah.
specifically Juz 16, and then
Yes.
later on to surahs, Maryam and Taha.
Wonderful.
And, hopefully we can extract some
Fun.
narratives and themes and really
Yeah, and
some
lessons
good
exactly
things,
of
yeah.
these passages.
So Juz 16, this one kind of throws us right into the deep end with the story of Moses and Al-Qadir.
It does.
And Al-Qadir, always strikes me as this kind of like enigmatic figure.
Right.
Like we're talking about someone that even prophets like Moses sought wisdom from.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The Quran doesn't reveal everything about Al-Qadir,
Right.
which just, adds to that kind of air of mystery.
Yeah.
But what we do learn is that his knowledge is divinely given.
Okay.
And it surpasses, even that of the most revered prophets.
And so this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Because Al-Qadir, he starts taking these actions that,
Right.
let's just say they raised a few eyebrows.
Even for Moses, right? I mean, we're talking about events like killing a young boy,
Yeah.
damaging a ship on purpose.
Right.
I mean, on the surface, it's kind of hard to reconcile these actions with this figure who's known for wisdom and righteousness.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic example of how our limited human perspective,
Right.
can sometimes cloud our understanding of a larger divine plan.
Yeah.
Right. So when Moses questions his actions,
Right.
that's when we're given a glimpse into the reasoning behind these seemingly jarring deeds.
So let's unpack that a little bit. So
Yeah.
the boy, for example.
Yeah.
What was the deal with that?
So Al-Kahir explains that had this boy lived,
Okay.
he would have grown up to really oppress his parents, his righteous parents, with his disbelief
Oh, wow.
and causing them immense pain and suffering.
Okay.
So by ending his life early, a greater tragedy was averted.
So it's like this idea that sometimes what might seem like a negative event on its face is actually
That's easier.
preventing something far worse.
Far worse?
Yes, and it prompts us to think about, those difficult situations where what appears to be, a negative event might actually be preventing something far more tragic.
It makes you wonder how often, we're kind of like judging situations based on their immediate appearances
Right.
without really understanding
It's a picture.
the full picture, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's precisely the point the story drives home, right?
Yeah.
It's about trusting in a wisdom that surpasses our own.
Okay.
And acknowledging that there are these forces at play that we might not always fully comprehend.
So then what about the ship?
Right.
Why damage a perfectly good ship?
Yeah,
Yes.
it seems illogical, right?
Yeah.
And yet there's this profound logic woven into the narrative.
Okay.
This ship belonged to the poor,
Oh.
and by damaging it, Al-Kiv made it appear less valuable, protecting it from being seized by a tyrannical king who was known to confiscate, perfectly seaworthy vessels.
So it's almost like, that saying, sometimes you have to break something to save it.
Precisely, yeah.
Right.
It's about understanding the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the long game. It challenges us to kind of re-examine our own notions of what constitutes harm and what constitutes benefit.
And the wall.
Yes.
Rebuilding the wall. What was the meaning behind that?
So that wall actually held a hidden treasure, a treasure that was meant for orphaned boys,
Okay.
tucked away by their righteous father.
Wow.
And so by restoring the wall, Al-Khizr ensured that these orphans would receive their inheritance when they came of age.
So again, it's like an act that seemed kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
ordinary, mundane, it's
Right.
had this much deeper significance.
Deep significance, yeah.
I mean, this whole story of Moses and Al-Khizr is like this masterclass in like trusting the process, even when we don't have
Right.
all the answers.
Absolutely. It encourages patience, acceptance, and perhaps most importantly, faith. Faith that even when things seem chaotic or nonsensical,
Yeah.
there's a higher order at work.
And so we encounter this other really captivating figure in Juz 16, and that's Dhul Qarnayn.
Yes.
And this is, his story, it reads like an epic.
It does. It does.
He journeys to these far corners of the earth. He's encountering civilizations unlike anything
right.
we can imagine.
Like one such encounter takes him to a land where the sun seems to set in muddy waters.
Really?
A detail that sparks so much curiosity
Wow.
and invites us to just ponder the diversity of creation.
It's those little details that really
I know.
make those ancient stories just come to life.
Absolutely. And then we have his encounter with the people living where the sun rises.
Right.
seemingly without any shield from its intense rays.
Wow.
And so these brief but powerful encounters, they highlight Duopanyan's interactions with these diverse cultures.
Yeah.
And ultimately the choices that he makes in those moments.
And he has a choice. He's given this power
Right.
to either punish or show mercy.
Yeah.
When confronted with these different ways of life. So
it's a weighty responsibility.
it is. It is.
Yeah, and it speaks to that importance of free will, right? And the impact that our choices have.
On the world around us.
On the world around us, yeah.
And then, of course, speaking of weighty matters, you can't forget about
Gog and Magog.
Gog and Magog.
Right.
This barbaric tribe.
Representing chaos and destruction.
And shivers down your spine.
It does a force to be reckoned with.
Force of nature.
Yes.
And Dulcarnain is tasked with building this barrier.
Yes.
This massive structure.
It has
to hold back this tide of destruction.
Yes.
Makes you think about those metaphorical walls that we build.
Yes.
In our own lives to protect us from things.
Right, from the things that threaten our peace and well-being.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is the symbolism embedded within the story.
Okay.
So this barrier represents divine protection. It's a physical manifestation of mercy, holding back these forces of chaos.
Right.
And it's just this powerful image that speaks to that delicate balance between order and disorder in our world.
And this barrier, I mean, as imposing as it is, it's not a permanent fixture, is it?
Right, right.
You know, it speaks to this larger truth about the nature of our world.
Exactly. Yeah, the Quran tells us that this barrier, the symbol of protection, will eventually crumble when the day of judgment draws near.
Right.
And it serves as a reminder that even the mightiest structures, both physical and metaphorical, they're ultimately transient.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
But for now, let's kind of shift gears a little bit to a story that's both deeply personal but also like universally resonant.
Okay.
And that's the story of Mary.
Yes.
And the birth of Jesus as told in Surah Maryam.
Yeah, this narrative holds a very unique place in the Quran, offering insights into Islamic theology, while also challenging kind of our preconceived notions about this, well-known figure.
It's a story that I think really gets at the human experience.
It does.
Of faith and doubt.
Absolutely.
And even isolation. I mean, you have Mary who was chosen for this miraculous conception.
Yeah.
But she's also facing all of these
societal pressures.
And scrutiny.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine?
It's a heavy weight to bear.
Yeah.
And the Quran doesn't shy away from depicting Mary's, her humanness, her moments of vulnerability, uncertainty, and yet through it all, this unwavering faith.
And it's crucial to I think understand how the Quran presents Jesus's birth.
Yes.
And his role.
Right.
Because there are some key distinctions there that I think might surprise those who aren't as familiar with Islamic teachings.
So the Quran is very clear in its emphasis on Jesus as a prophet and a messenger of God, but not the son of God.
Right. And this distinction is fundamental to Islamic theology.
Okay.
Because it reinforces this belief in God's absolute oneness and transcendence.
And it's interesting how that challenges our traditional interpretations.
Yeah.
And encourages us to kind of like view that through a different lens.
Absolutely. It's about understanding, this pivotal figure within a different theological framework.
Yeah, and this theme of challenging established beliefs, of staying true to one's convictions.
Yeah.
Even in the face of like opposition. We see this echoed in another really powerful narrative.
Yes.
From Surah Maryam, and that's the story of Abraham and his father.
Oh, talk about a complex father-son relationship, right?
I mean, you have Abraham, who we revere as a prophet. Yeah. And yet he's challenging his own father's deeply held beliefs.
Deeply held beliefs in idol worship,
It's like that struggle to reconcile personal beliefs with family and societal expectations. It's a story that resonates across generations.
It does.
I think many people can relate to that.
For sure.
That kind of struggle.
And it speaks to, I think, the idea that faith often requires courage.
It does.
The courage to stand firm in our convictions, even when it's difficult.
Absolutely.
Politically.
And that idea of courage in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
Of staying true to one's calling, despite doubt, despite fear.
Right.
It leads us beautifully into Surah Taha.
Okay.
And the story of Moses' call to prophethood.
And this is where things get really epic. I mean, we're talking about this
Life-altering
encounter with the divine.
With the divine, yeah.
And really a mission that would change.
That would change the course of history.
Course of history, yeah.
I mean, this is a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Not just for Moses, but for the Israelites as a people.
Right.
I mean, he's chosen to confront Pharaoh, the most powerful ruler of his time, to demand the release of his people from slavery.
It's a story of liberation.
It is
divine intervention.
Yes.
And the struggle for justice.
The struggle for justice, right?
It all begins with this burning bush.
Yes.
That isn't consumed by the fire.
Right.
Which is such a powerful image.
It is a powerful image.
Well, you could almost, I don't know, you could almost feel Moses's hesitation, wonder,
right,
as he approaches this.
Right. And it's a powerful reminder that our understanding of the divine is often limited, right? That God can communicate and reveal his will in ways that defy our expectations.
Yeah.
And in this case, the message is clear, you know?
Yeah.
Moses is tasked with this monumental mission, one that will really test his faith.
Right.
And push him to his limits.
And, of course, we can't forget what happens when Moses, even for a brief period, leaves his people to their own devices.
Yeah.
Talking about the golden calf incident.
The golden calf.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder of human fallibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even after witnessing miracles firsthand, the plagues, the parting of the sea, the Israelites, in their impatience and desire for these, tangible symbols of worship, they fall back into idolatry.
It makes you wonder how could they?
Right.
After all of that.
You would think, right.
Yeah.
You would think that they would, stay on the straight path.
Right.
But it speaks to that constant struggle that we face as human beings, right? The pull between faith and doubt, between our higher aspirations and that allure of immediate gratification.
Yeah, it's a timeless story.
It is.
Of temptation, transgression, and ultimately the potential for redemption.
Yeah, and I think that's important to note here, because even in their moment of weakness, even after such a blatant disregard for this covenant that they made with God, there's still a path back,
Right, because the Quran, it doesn't shy away from depicting Moses' anger.
Right.
His disappointment upon his return.
Of course, and he destroys the golden calf.
Right.
He chastises the Israelites for their, lapse in judgment. He even throws down the stone tablets.
Right.
In a moment of, understandable frustration.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a powerful scene.
It is.
Because it really conveys the gravity of their actions.
Yeah.
But amidst this righteous anger, there's this glimmer of hope.
There is.
This message that I think is so profound.
Yeah, the Quran doesn't leave us in a place of despair.
Right.
Instead, it emphasizes God's boundless mercy.
Yeah.
His willingness to forgive those who stray, provided they genuinely repent.
It's that recurring theme of forgiveness and redemption that really sticks with me. Like we see humanity messing up time and again, straying from the path.
But there's always that open door.
Right, there's always that.
For a return to righteousness.
Yeah, it's a message of hope, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we're not abandoned.
Yeah, and that's such a crucial point, and it really gets at the heart of Islamic belief.
Yeah.
Because the Quran emphasizes that God is both just and merciful, capable of this immense anger and wrath, but yet always ready to receive those who turn back to him with sincere repentance.
A beautiful thing.
It is. It's a beautiful duality that offers, I think, comfort and guidance.
It really makes you think about how these stories, revealed centuries ago, still have so much relevance to our modern lives.
Oh, it's amazing.
Faith and doubt, temptation, forgiveness, these are all...
They're universal struggles.
Universal struggles.
Yeah, they transcend time and culture. And I think what I find so fascinating is that these narratives, while they're rooted in these specific historical contexts, they offer these, these universal truths about the human condition and our relationship with the divine.
Right. It's like they're holding up a mirror.
Exactly.
To ourselves.
They're mirrors, reflecting back our own internal battles and aspirations.
So as our listeners, our fellow deep divers, as we're kind of coming to a close here, what are some of the things that that we can glean from these stories?
Mhm.
How can we apply these ancient lessons?
Yeah, I think a key takeaway, and maybe this echoes the story of Moses and Al-Kithir,
Okay.
is to really look beyond the surface.
Okay.
Right? Just as Moses learned from Al-Kithir's actions,
Right.
actions that on the surface seemed wrong.
Right.
We too should really strive to see beyond the immediate, to cultivate that trust that there's a larger wisdom at play, even when things don't make sense.
It's about having that unshakable faith.
Yes.
Even when you're, faced with uncertainty,
Yes.
like Abraham challenging his father.
Right.
Or Moses confronting Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
It takes courage.
Yes, it does. It takes incredible courage to stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
To align yourself with truth, even when it's difficult.
And I think, too, it's about recognizing
Yeah.
that true strength often lies in vulnerability.
He does.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Like acknowledging our imperfections,
Yeah.
seeking forgiveness.
Right. Recognizing our own golden calf moments, if you
Right.
And choosing time and time again that path of repentance.
Yeah.
Striving for righteousness.
It's like we've been kind of like pulling on all these different threads
Yeah.
of this tapestry
Beautiful.
woven from these ancient stories.
I love that. That's such a beautiful way to put it.
And each thread, each character, each event, represents this different facet
It does.
of
Yeah.
faith
Yeah.
and struggle
Right.
of ultimately divine grace.
And as you our listeners continue to reflect on these stories
Yeah.
and others within the Quran, consider how they speak to those larger themes.
Yeah.
That we all grapple with, good versus evil, the
Yeah.
interplay of free will and destiny,
Yeah.
and what it really means to live as humans guided by the divine
Yeah.
in a world that doesn't always make sense.
It's a beautiful note to kind of like wrap things up on. So with that, we'll bring this deep dive to a close.
Yeah.
But remember, this exploration is just the beginning.
It is.
The Quran is an ocean of wisdom,
Yes.
full of stories and teachings just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep those minds engaged.
Yeah.
Keep those hearts open
Keep searching.
to the endless possibilities of knowledge and understanding.
Beautiful.